Hi, welcome back to Daddy O Draws. Today, I think we're going to be talking about, in fact, I know we're going to be talking about um, first point or 1 point perspective. Going to be our early intro into um, how to use perspective to simulate depth. Um, it is going to work in tandem with all the shapes and everything that we've been practicing, all the lines and that kind of thing. So I figured only fitting that we have a happy cube say hi to us today, welcome us to our fun of drawing. Hi. Um, so we're gonna get right into it because it can get a little bit long. Hey, Morty, see you rolled a natural 20. Good job. We're gonna go grab a ruler just to speed things up. Um, so for 1 point perspective, one of the things you need to do is in almost all perspective drawings, you're going to have what's known as a vanishing point and a horizon line. So, horizon line is effectively it's what your eyes, if you're standing and looking off into the distance, should be able, like they should be parallel with. As in, if you're looking at the horizon line, this is where everything will recede to. And the vanishing point is where all objects are going towards. So if I drew a dot here, I'll make it a little bit bigger. In fact, I'll make it a cross, plus sign. So everything will go towards that point in 1 point perspective. So in 2 point perspective, you have, as I'm sure you can figure out, more than one of these. And then you can go 3, 4, 5. You can go as many points of perspective as you can think of, although it may not work. Um, it sounds like it would uh, be a lot, but in the end, you could technically have 5, 6, 7, 8 vanishing points because that's what this is called, um, and all of them would be for 1 point perspective. So this is your horizon line, right? Horizon, and this is your vanishing point. Okay. So anytime you're doing 1 point perspective, this is what you're going to set it up as. Everything will recede to 1 point. So with that, I'm going to come over here. We're going to do another one. Nice quick little line for the horizon. So let's put the vanishing point here again. And let's start with doing a cube. So in that case, we know that since we've been practicing our shapes, we have a square. Let's just draw a square, right? Or in this case, kind of a square anyway. So what we're going to do, I'm just going to draw a square, or at least pretend I can draw a square. And then I'm going to, using this point, I'm going to draw a line to each corner. Okay, so I ghost, and I drop the line. And I'm going to ghost, drop the line. Another thing that I may not have mentioned in the other videos is when you're ghosting and you're going to try and do your best to almost look where you want that to go instead of just like focusing on the pen tip. You don't really want to do it. It's like throwing a ball or any other kind of like hand-eye coordination sport. You want to look where you want to go. You don't want to follow, if you're throwing a ball, you don't throw it and follow the ball and hope it goes where you want. So I'm going to, this chair position isn't good, but anyway, so I've done these little, what they're called rays that come away from the vanishing point because everything is, again, receding to this point. So now I've managed to do that with a square. And we're going to use the power of drawing through, which I think we talked about in the last video, to sort of, you see that even though that this will, unless this box is made of glass, which it could be, all depending on your imagination, this line right here, which you can see inside the square, won't appear if it's solid. So the way you figure it out is you draw, so you've got the front face of your square, and then we're going to do another one. We're basically using these lines as a way to track where the next square will be. It'll be smaller, and since we've been practicing parallel lines and our line quality, they should line up pretty good. All right, not perfect, but that's okay. Again, we're practicing. It's practice, not perfection. You know, you save the perfection for when you're trying to do finished pieces. So as we see here now, you have a box that seems to be receding into the distance, and one of the hallmarks of a one-point perspective drawing is this square, or this square, will always be parallel, 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 parallel. So if you did a rectangle, it'll be the same. These would all be parallels if they're the side that is facing us directly on, not the ones that are receding. So this is when you start getting into 2-point perspective. So if I pushed this box and I wanted to go to this same line, I'll show you what happens. A square, and then I'm gonna try to do this. I have to lean over my chair without knocking my camera. So ghosting my lines in, I'm putting them in very light, so I don't know if you can actually see them. Hopefully you can. And then using these lines which have ghosted in. So it's not so bad there, but look what happens when I try to, it gets kind of skewed looking, right? It works, but it's definitely not perfect. And I did make a mistake in this section right here. So it should be a little flatter, which you can fix if you want to use some whiteout, because I'm using a pen today. I figure it would be a little bit more challenging to do this, because it's also, I've talked about putting down lines and owning what you've done. And so I'm going to come back to this once that dries. But you can kind of see it gets a little incorrect looking. So like, again, I'm going to do the same thing, but up here. Let's use a rectangle. Doesn't have to be perfect. So I'm going to hold my page here because I'm using this big, nice white paper with a black pen. Oops, missed. So now I projected my lines. This one actually is going to look okay. All right, so but the further over you go, the more it's going to look strange. So if I put one way over here, it's going to be a nice challenge. I'm going to just, what this is called projecting rays. While it's not perfect because I'm not going corner to corner, it's going to give me an idea of where these lines should go, because I have a bunch of them projected from the same single point and I can eyeball it, which you can get pretty good at after practice. So this is one that's kind of looking a little squiffy. Yeah, that is a word. squiffy. So this seems stretched. I mean, you could, if I were to cut that off, it might look a bit more natural, but it's not perfect. Again, these whiteout markers, pens or whatever you call them, I just love them. So even then, taking out that extra bit that I didn't like, it kind of looks forced, right? And that's what this is. So you got to be careful with 1 point perspective, especially going over too far. It has limits. That's one of the things about 1 point perspective. It does have limits. This would work, but it would always look a little bit off. So that's like when you're working with 1 point perspective, the good thing about it is now, if you're drawing something across a horizon line, you don't have to worry about the tops and bottoms because they're effectively hidden by perspective, right? There's your rectangle across a horizon. That would be true of box or anything else. So, and when you're drawing below the horizon line, it's everything we did here, but just almost in reverse. So, draw a box. We have projected 1, projecting 2. And here's a trick because I'm blocking the horizon line with the pen, so that's an interesting challenge. All right. One of my teachers a long time ago also sort of taught me, when you're dropping the line, you ghost it, and when you drop it, breathe out. It seems to work. I mean, most of the time. Nothing ever works every single time. So here's another cube. I've made this one opaque. I could very easily draw this down like so and across like so. And now I have, a see-through cube. But you get the same effect, right? So you see the underside because this one is above the horizon line, and you see the top because it is below the horizon line. This is one of the great things this is one of the first kinds of drawn perspective that was actually discovered. And it was used a lot in a whole bunch of different kinds of early, I can't remember the art period, but during that time it was used a lot because it was kind of blowing people's minds, the illusion of depth that it created. So let's do one more here. Hey, Morty, where'd that ruler go? Thanks. All right. So now, using this, we're just going to draw a silly little scene. And I'm going to do it. I may not talk much because I'm going to focus to try and get it done quickly. I don't want to waste your time. And unless you're enjoying watching me doodle, so let's just draw a road. Okay, so I'm going to draw a road. At least one side of it. And this is the funny thing about it, right? In reality, the chances of you ever seeing a road that goes like this, completely into the distance, is very, very unlikely. So that's one of the drawbacks of 1 point perspective, is it will never look perfect if you follow everything receding to the distance. But there are tricks you can use to make the 1 point perspective work in your favor. So now we've got a road. Put down the sidewalk. Right. Put down another sidewalk on this side. Wonders of modern infrastructure. Okay. So now I've got a road. What else? You don't just have a road most of the time. Sometimes you'll have like a diner. Let's say that this diner has a parking lot going on like this. And so we So you see there, it's kind of cheating it, but that's experience. I was just going to eyeball this line going for the parking lot of the diner. So now we're getting kind of forced here. So watch this. Starts to look funny now. I'm going to put the diner right here. So there's tricks for things like slanted roofs and that kind of thing. We're not going to worry about them today. To make them very accurate, we're not going to worry about them today because it is going to be, this is supposed to be very basic perspective. And that's kind of how I want to keep it for now. So when I was saying that before, there's an issue when you start to force things. This building is starting to look almost a little bit unrecognizable. It's too big. Like the one side to this side, it starts to look a little funny or off. And now I'm kind of doing you guys a disservice because I am cheating by using knowledge. There we go. I'm not drawing through, although I could if I wanted to, if I wanted this to be a transparent box, I would draw this far side, draw through. Don't really need to do that because I am just kind of making it up as I go here. As my videos go, I don't really plan them. I just sort of go with it. I didn't even know what I was going to draw here until right now. So now we're going to do windows. Windows tend to be on the same plane. We've got a window here, got a window here. Here's the trick for going around the side. So you come down like this to this side. You draw, because these lines are parallel. I don't have an eraser, so afterward I would either trace this off using a light table and take out the lines I don't want. Just like that. I'm not going to draw the interior or anything like that. So, okay, so there's the diner. Let's extend this parking lot because it is supposed to be, this is not a lot of space. The interesting thing about learning perspective is that you start to think about the way the world kind of is. Does it make sense? So, a car coming in here would be really close to this stairway. So I'm going to put in some bollards because really you'd want to protect that. And then, all right. So last video, I think we also drew a car. So let's draw the square car we drew last time using perspective instead of eyeballing it. Right, we drew a cube. And then I drew a wedge. And I'm very much cheating this. This is where, once you know where your perspective line is, and now these are all kind of working like these. Remember on this one, I was using these rays to roughly indicate or give me an idea of where that vanishing point is. Well, I'm doing that with this car because I have all of this is surrounding me now. I can kind of see where everything should be going. And you know what? I'm going to be honest with you. Sometimes you're going to do that and it's going to look wrong. Like this car kind of looks flat. I don't care right now because it's a doodle. It's just it's not finished work, and we're just trying to do a little experiment, little study or practice on some perspective. So we got a diner. I'm gonna put a sign here, nice big sign. We're gonna have it go slightly into perspective. Well, it's going to be a dinner. That's the name of this place. D-I-N-R. Dinner. And so now we've got this going into one point. We've got that going into one point. And I don't know, what could we throw over here? What do you think, Morty? A giant, what? A giant elephant. Okay. Well, this is kind of going outside uh, the the whole plan here, but you know, Morty has an idea. We're gonna try it. Nobody else said anything, so because we're drawing anything in perspective, you can use a box to indicate it's going in perspective. This isn't going to be an accurate elephant. I'm just going to draw a silly elephant, but I know that as an animal, it's long, just like a cow or something like that, and it's going to have like, you know, its body is going to go into the distance. I'm not worried about accuracy here because I'm not looking at an elephant. Normally, I would find a way to have a um, a reference image somewhere nearby to sort of get a sense. Let's give him the tusks. These big tusks. He's just walking around, this elephant. He's just doing his thing. So, and he's walking by a bunch of light posts. So again, we want these to go into the distance. Let's get this guy an underside. So, oh, big tusk there, big tusk there. All right, so we want light posts are tall, and they're usually pretty evenly spaced. See, here I am being a little bit unconfident with my lines. So, first thing is you're going to draw your first light post. Right? I'm going to draw this like so. Now I know these are also going to recede. So everything is going to recede. And I'm going to put in a second light post right. Put it right here. We'll draw out this line. Okay, so here's a trick. You're going to draw an X between the bottom of one thing. It could be a tree, it could be a light post, it could be anything. And you're going to find the middle point, which is the middle of the X. We're going to drawing through this line towards the vanishing point, okay? Now we know where the vanishing point is. This line should be the middle between all of these light posts going into the distance. So then going back to this point, we're going to draw not a hard line, a nice light line because we're trying to plan. We're going to draw through the middle line that we did that intersects with the second light post, right? You see what I'm doing there? Pay close attention to this because this is going to be pretty neat. And then go up to the top of the third line. So from the bottom of the first, through the middle of the second, to the top of the line on the far side. See, you've got a dot here now. I'm going to project down and meet up with this bottom line. And if you look, you can kind of see it looks pretty on par. It's matching itself pretty good. It's a nice, even spacing. It feels like it's naturally spaced. So now because we did this line all the way through, it's here. Watch this. I do it here on this one, from the bottom, through the middle, up to the top, project down. Next light, from the bottom, through the middle, down. See how they're evenly spaced? It might not be perfect because it's a small image, but it's pretty evenly spaced. And that's how you space things nice. You would do this. You could do the same trick with train tracks. You could do the same trick with trees. Anything that's going to be like a fence post. That's going to be pretty much it. So now, as one last point here, and I'm going to guarantee you I didn't cover everything, but I just want you to practice these things. Just practice things going into the distance. Draw a lonely road. And of course, you can put a mountain in the distance and make it look much more, you know, whatever, like it's a thing, as opposed to give it a sense of depth. and why this might be open. But and it's fun to think of those things, like why is this world the way it is, right? So anyway, I digress. So one of the problems with 1 point perspective is we talked about things getting forced, and this is going to lead us into our next video, which is going to be 2 point perspective. Whereas when you have your box like this, right, and it recedes. Okay, after a while, it looks flat. But if you draw a box, and since hopefully you've been practicing tumbling the boxes, you're going to notice that the parallel, even though these aren't parallel, please don't unsubscribe. These parallel lines, the tops and the sides being parallel, are what make it 1 point perspective. 2 point perspective, 3 point perspective, everything kind of has like they converge into the distance. So you can kind of tell the difference when they're beside each other. I hope you can. But you see how these lines close in on each other and these lines don't. So let's see here. So I've got this pencil here and this pen here. They're kind of, yeah, they're parallel. So this line here and this line here, they are not parallel. And this is a trick that you can use to help you if you have your vanishing points go off a page. So those two, right? So you can see that this is going to be 2 point perspective, and this is 1 point. Then we're going to get into 3 point. We're going to do other things as well. But in the meantime, this is a very, very, very lightweight start for 1 point perspective. Just practice, even if you don't draw anything, just practice drawing lines going to the point. That's going to be a big part of the practice, right? So that you can be accurate, practice your line weight, practice your, and then, if you want, start throwing in boxes and rectangles. And you're going to find pretty quick that you're going to run into some things like your parallels are going to look off because, your brain doesn't want to draw 3 dimensions on 2D. So this is where you're breaking the rules of your brain. You're saying, no, I want this to look like 3D. So have fun with it. Just practice. It doesn't have to be anything other than cubes going into the distance. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, like if you want to call this fancy, like this. You can just have fun. But 1 point horizon line, these things are required. And then you can draw rays going to it. And then if you really want to practicing, I used to do this with light tables. You draw a piece of paper and you just draw a whole bunch of things like this. Draw this horizon line in a different color. If you have a light table or a window or something, then you slap it up on the window, and then you have a grid underneath that you can sort of use as a guide to have everything going into this. And see, I just did those really quick and it worked out in my favor. So today, I think that's going to cover it. And this video went a little longer than I intended, but I hope you stuck with it. And thanks for coming along. I really appreciate it. And if you guys like the video, then I'm hoping that the next one will be out in 2 weeks. This one was a couple days late. And, I hope I helped you learn some new things today. And if I didn't, well, that's okay. There's lots of other good artists on YouTube who can help you. And, but if you stuck around and listened to the whole thing, I hope it was nice and relaxing and entertaining at some points. Anyway, thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you soon.